Alright, we're live. Hello, Internet. Give me a second to have everything set up right. Alright, everything seems to be running alright. What's going on, everyone? Or the few people that will check into this. This is Underwolf, and today I'm actually working on some requests I got off of DeviantArt. So what I'm drawing now is a request from 7 Swords, 7 Lives, and she actually wanted me to draw one of her OCs. Let me read the name, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Cao Lian Hua? Yeah, I can't pronounce that, sorry. But yeah, this is my first request on DeviantArt. I'm finally getting around to it. And I'm working from a rough sketch I did, which she asked me to draw one of her OCs. And I'm looking forward to drawing this because I actually do not draw people too often, and it's something I really need to start drawing more of, especially of women, because that's probably the one I have the least amount of experience with. So while I'm drawing this, since I need something to actually talk about, I'm going to be talking about 2 movies that are recently out. Murder on Orient Express and Thor Ragnarok. And what I was originally going to do was I was going to have the dialogue part, the speaking part, already finished, so I could focus mainly on drawing. Because it's, as any YouTuber can tell you, it gets more difficult to actually separate your brain into those 2 separate tasks. But unfortunately, for some reason, I lost the recording I did. I'm not sure where it is. It's somewhere on my computer. Either that or I accidentally deleted it. But yeah, so I'm just going to be talking about that all over again. And I'm going to start with Murder on Orient Express, and that's going to be a quick one because I don't want to give anything away since it is a mystery movie. So it's going to be a quick no spoilers review. And then I'll talk about Thor Ragnarok, which I'll be able to get into more detail. Yeah, so Murder on Orient Express, I can't look too much up right now, but it's based on the Agatha Christie book. But trying to remember who starred in it. I know Johnny Depp. A lot of people actually in it, but I suck with names. But again, basic plot, it's a murder mystery on a train following the investigation by Hercule Peyote. I can't pronounce his name either. Yeah, I'm just awful with names in general. And, okay, basic synopsis. I found the movie very enjoyable. I did have some issue with it. Nothing to spoil it. I still found it to be very fun. And I would recommend it, especially considering how few and in between mystery films are nowadays. Honestly, I can't really recall the last one in theaters that was any good. I mean, The Snowman, but that's rather infamous. And I'll start with the strengths of the film. Overall, it is a very gorgeous film to look at. It's very atmospheric. It reminds me of John Carpenter's The Thing, in where you just feel the cold. So, and it's not claustrophobic, which I was expecting it to be, given how it is on a train. But it's a fairly solid mystery, I would say. The acting, for the most part, was fairly solid. It's a little more, how should I put this? It's almost very, like, over the top at some points, where it feels like an hokier, older film style acting, which, to be fair, it takes place in the 30s, so I feel that was probably more of a artistic choice, and it does work. For the most part. Again, a lot of characters that do a good job. I can't really think of a performance I didn't like in it. Which, and it's important to note, I have never read the book beforehand. This was my introduction to the character of Hercule, which, as I'm to understand, differs very from the actual book, where I can't vouch for the book, but in the film, I would describe him as similar to Monk, but Monk Light, where he's a very quirky sort of character. He's very particular and obsessive compulsive, but not to the extent that Monk was in the show, where it never feels like it's more of a crippling disability. It just feels more like he's a very particular sort of person and likes things to be done in a very particular way. And I can't vouch as to if fans of the book will enjoy it as I did. But it's always important to just, whenever it's an adaptation of anything, go in with an open mind. Yeah, and it's a much, and I don't mean this in a bad way, it's a much slower, quieter film. Which, honestly, is kind of refreshing. Where it isn't very fast paced or loud, and the few action scenes, they're very downplayed. Where there aren't any sort of major explosions or harrowing chases. No, it feels more like it's adapted from a book than anything else. It feels much more cerebral than not visual but active. And I do have two problems with the film itself and possibly the book. Again, I haven't read that. One, the first problem I have being, and this is just a nitpick on my part, it's not set up for the viewer to solve the mystery on their own. Where, yeah, a lot of sort of television or books, they will give you all the clues and lead you down the path to put them together and make the assumptions yourself. However, Murder on Orient Express does not do that. It's very much built to have it be the detective be the only one that can solve this, and you left to wonder how they're going to solve it, which, again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just, again, I'm one of those people, I actually like to be interactive with the mystery. Where you can be to some extent, but you won't be able to solve it. Where, and I'm not going to give away too much detail, or try and keep this without giving anything away. There's this moment near the climax where Hercule is basically going over all the clues, the classic setup, and he'll just go, "You said you were so and so, but in fact, you are actually so and so. And this secret about you, which makes you a suspect in this." Which, again, when I was there, I just kept wondering, well, how did you come to that conclusion then? Because we, the audience, have never seen any sort of suggestion that that might be the case. We, the audience, would have had no possible way to know that. That's something only you know, and we have no explanation as to how you came to that conclusion. And yeah, that took me a little out of it. And I don't know how the rest of you would feel about it. But it's just a nitpick on my part. But my second gripe, and it's a bit more of an actual issue, and it's an issue that I'm led to believe is in the actual story itself as well. Again, without giving too much away, it's revealed who did it and who was responsible for the murder. And once it was revealed what actually happened, I was just sitting there saying to myself, there's so many ways they could have made it where they wouldn't get caught. Where you could have made this so much cleaner. But you didn't, and I was left questioning a lot of it. Which, I don't know, maybe a little later on I'll actually get into spoilers. But again, I still enjoyed the film. If you're a huge fan of the book and you would take issue with potential changes, I guess I would suggest not going. And if you're on the fence, I say go at a matinee if you can, because I still enjoyed the film, and I don't think I would watch it necessarily again, but I would probably end up down the line buying it and using it for what I like to call a background film, where I won't watch it, but I will just have it playing in the background while I'm doing other things. Because it is very aesthetically pleasing, and it's a very relaxed film. I feel like I could watch this and just play it when I'm going to sleep. I need to look up other references. It's been so long since I've actually had to draw people, or at least try to draw real life people. I gotta get back to a figure drawing class. That's a problem with just photo references. They're just three-dimensional figures flat into a two-dimensional plane. So even if you have the perfect reference, you are still doing an amount of guesswork in it. Yeah. But Murder on Orient Express, pretty solid film, flaws and all. I would suggest, I would recommend seeing it. And then the other film I saw, Thor Ragnarok, I enjoyed the hell out of Thor Ragnarok, which was a very fun, energetic movie. Yeah. And I'm actually glad I saw these two films back to back, because they are, in a lot of ways, complete opposites. Where Murder on Orient Express was a much more subdued, sorry, let me just, yeah, where Orient Express was a much more relaxed, calming sort of movie. Ragnarok was a straight up adrenaline rush all the way through. And there's almost no point in reviewing it, because at this point, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, everyone knows, like, whether or not they're going to be into it. Where but Thor Ragnarok, I feel, was easily one of the top 5 Marvel movies so far. I wouldn't necessarily call it my favorite. There's still a lot more others I still enjoy. There's an argument for it being the best. And I've definitely seen people make that argument, and I can definitely understand that argument. Where, okay, let's start with the strengths of the film. Where, first of all, naturally it's a very beautiful looking movie. And this is easily the best of the Thor or standalone films, because it's what we always wanted to see from a Thor movie. We actually get to see the worlds in the 9 realms. Whereas before, it was just Thor going to Earth, or glimpses of these other worlds. This one we actually fully explore some of these worlds, and what I actually really loved about this was, I guess this is a mild spoiler, but you should probably be able to piece this together from the trailer. It's actually takes a lot from the novel Hulk Planet, which is, again, one of the, probably my favorite Hulk story, where Hulk is sent to an alien world where he becomes a gladiator. And is forced to fight for his freedom. And it actually does show those characters in that story. It shows, well, at least 2 of them. It shows the insect Meek, who I'm a little torn on in the film because he doesn't talk, but he was a rather annoying character, which I actually really liked him in the novel. And then there's Kor, I believe, who is like the Rock Man. And I want to say he was actually played by the director. I can't remember that, if it's true or not. Okay. But that was very entertaining. And the acting is solid, the casting very solid. Again, everything you expect from a Marvel film at this point. Where the basic synopsis is Thor and Loki have to combat Hela, the goddess of death, from overthrowing Asgard. It's a left hand, so thumb up this way. But during the struggle, Thor and Loki get separated. Thor gets sent to the gladiator world, ruled by Jeff Goldblum in this film. Which, that alone is funny enough to warrant seeing this film. Just his performance in it is great. And make their way back to Asgard before it's too late. And that's probably one of the strongest features of this film, is the villains. Because, as anyone will tell you, the villains are usually the weaker part of any Marvel film. Like, with the exception of Loki and arguably Ultron. I enjoyed Ultron, but he's a little lackluster and forgettable. These are easily the best villains, where Hela has an interesting backstory this film. They change it up a bit. And she actually has some legitimately funny moments, as well as some intimidating moments. And Jeff Goldblum, again, he just steals the show, this film. Let's see. Sec. Okay, I gotta minimize this window real quick to look at my reference. I'm not sure if that's going to affect the stream, does it? A little bit. Oh well. It's not like anyone's watching this. If you are, I'm sorry and thank you, but that would be hidden. So try to get a little more feminine. Like I said, I don't draw people too often, and I have to get back in the habit of drawing people a lot. At least that is a messed up neck. Well, this is why we do roughs. What was I talking? Thor Ragnarok, that's right. Again, a lot of great stuff in this film, where the chemistry between Chris Hemsworth, God, I forget his name, but the guy who plays Loki, they both do great. They play off each other great. I feel bad about forgetting his name. He's a great actor, but as for the life of me, can't think of it right now. I'm too busy trying not to screw this up. And whoever plays Hela is great in this. Ruffalo has a lot of strong moments, both comedic and legitimately dramatic. The special effects, they're amazing, yet at the same time, okay, how should I say this without it? They're comic booky. They feel like a comic book should look. And I'm certain that was the intent, and it definitely works. Where, for the most part, they're actually really amazing to look at. There's like one or two moments where it looks pretty fake, which, again, since this takes place in outer space, that's kind of expected, since it's so heavily using the CG. Though that is one legitimate complaint I hear that I can't really debate too much, is that it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy, which, to be fair, it kind of does. But again, in all fairness, this is supposed to, it is in space on an alien planet, and this is supposed to be a connected universe. So, it totally makes sense that it would look very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. In fact, it probably should, to help enforce the sense of this whole universe. Where I would actually probably take more issue up if it didn't resemble it in any way. Where because then when the inevitable crossover does happen, it'll feel much more jarring. And again, this is a very fast-paced, adrenaline-filled movie. Where it's like almost non-stop action. Which I feel that's one of the strongest things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. It's actually reached a stage where they don't have to worry about exposition or character build-up, because these are already very well built up and established characters. So, if we go into exposition or try and establish them anymore, it'll almost feel like wasted time. So you can actually just have a 2-hour adrenaline-filled movie, and it'll work perfectly fine because you know these characters already. You don't have to waste your time on any more like establishment. And when you do, and the little character you get, I shouldn't say that, but the build-up of the characters you get, it's all you need, and it does feel good to see. Try this. How's that looking? Coming along. Let me try moving the legs up. See that. I think that's what I do wrong most of the time when I'm drawing people. I end up giving them too long of a stomach, or leave too much of a gap between where the legs are and where the torso is. Yeah, I really gotta get back to any sort of figure drawing class where I've been told by professors just go out and draw actual people, which, yeah, I should probably do that, but, well, one, I work nights, so the time I'm awake, it's usually already getting dark out. And the other, I just kind of feel like a creep going out and drawing complete strangers. It's not looking too bad. From one point of one half it looks alright, but and I'm trying to go for a 3/4 view, because I want this to feel a little exciting, like she's actually in combat. And I'll put a link down below of who I'm drawing. 40 minutes. Let's see, what else can I say about Thor Ragnarok? The effects were great, acting was great, casting was great. And if you're a nerd like me, there's going to be a lot of little nods that you'll appreciate. Like, one of my favorites to see was when we're looking at the Colosseum and they have basically these giant monuments constructed on it to pay tribute to what I'm assuming are former champions. One of them was Beta Ray Bill, who is a character from the Thor comics, and one of the few people in this universe to actually be deemed worthy of Mjolnir. And later on in his story arc, he gets his own equivalent, which I want to say was called Stormbreaker, if I'm remembering that correctly. That was a character. It was great seeing him again. Loki actually makes reference to the Frog Thor, which one of the goofier things in the Marvel Universe, where just look up Frog Thor. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, that was a very fun movie to see. I highly recommend it. Especially if you're a huge Marvel fan. It's harder to think of anything I didn't like in Ragnarok. Again, the major complaint is just the comparison of it to Guardians of the Galaxy, but this is supposed to be a connected, shared universe. So it really does make a lot of sense for it to be very visually reminiscent of Guardians of the Galaxy and make it look like it takes place in the same sort of world, because it does. So that's a problem I'm having. I think this is my favorite thing about drawing on digitally, is that you can actually play around with where everything is placed, or cut and paste easier, which is something you can't do with technical or physical drawing, which, if I'm going to be honest, I actually do like traditional drawing better, and I feel I'm stronger at it. Yeah, digital has a lot of perks to it. eyes are starting to get sore. It's probably one of the more problems I have with digital drawing is since you're staring at a monitor for so long, it gets more taxing on your eyes. And gotta put my glasses on, which again, I use a touchscreen monitor and for drawing, which the monitor I use is called a UG, and it's a great monitor. It's a lot cheaper than the other ones you would see, like the Wacom touchscreens. They go for like $1,100. This particular one, I actually got it at a really good price. I got it for about $200. Pretty much brand new. I think usually it goes for about $400, which is still pretty cheap, and it's a nice alternative to the high-end expensive ones. But the only real problem I have with it is that it doesn't have a blue light filter in the monitor, which blue light is basically the type of light that produces radiation that can cause like eye strain. So if I'm on it too long, it starts to make my eyes get sore, and it's usually fine. Just draw an hour, take a 15-minute break. Which, how long have I been drawing on this? So, yeah, about an hour. It's coming along okay so far. Started working on the face a bit. Yeah, all I really need to do is put they're not like special glasses that because I'm cheap and I'm poor, so I just use sunglasses with UV filters, and they're UV sunglasses, so they work alright. But it's sort of a double-edged sword with the monitor, because on one hand it does help, but on the other hand they're not clear, they're sunglasses, so they have this grayish yellow tint to them, and when I'm just inking like this, it's perfectly fine, but when I start to have to get into the coloring, I can't really use them because it dilutes the actual color I'm seeing. So I'll have to take them off, make sure I like the color I'm using, and then put them back on. Yeah, I'm not getting into any, like, real detail yet. I'm just sort of experimenting with the face, trying to figure out how I want everything to go. I think that's another great thing about drawing digital. You can actually zoom way in. And be able to assume all the detail you want. Let's see, where else can I put this? Damn it. Sec. Let's see how this is looking. I'm not sure if I need to make the head any bigger or not. Let me play around with that a bit. Yeah. That's not looking too bad. Let me save just to be safe. Desktop. How do I spell the name? C-A-O. No. give it a moment, because some reason it always takes so long to save. Alright. Now, I'm gonna start working on the rest of clothing. And that's usually how I draw things like this, where if it's like layered on top of something, like clothing on a person, I'll draw a rough of the person, then I'll draw a rough concept of what the clothing on the person will look like, and then I'll proceed to draw a final inking of those two things together. Let's see, it's primarily she'll have it's almost sort of shoulder armor. I can't tell you how many times I accidentally don't click off a layer and start drawing. Yeah, I don't have anything else to really say about Ragnarok or Orient Express. Both strong movies. Ragnarok clearly stronger. I would recommend seeing both. Ragnarok I wish I saw in 3D, but I couldn't make that screening. So, see it in 3D if anyone enjoys 3D, and let me know how it was. This character she actually has two different outfits on, which I'm gonna go with the black, white, and purple outfit. That was the colors of my high school, which I don't really care for, but I like that costume design better. The other one's like all red. I feel red's a color that's better used sparingly. And yeah, I'm gonna have to play around with this a bit. As hmm. And 1. So, yeah, I'm done talking about the movies. I'm just trying to draw now. Let me zoom out, see how this is coming along. Yeah, it's coming along nicely so far. Still got a lot of work to put into it. Let's see. Yeah, we passed the 1 hour mark. I think since I don't really have anything else to talk about, I think I'm just gonna call it quits for now. Maybe I'll start up in an hour or two from now, because I'm a night owl. I work nights, I have off nights. Yeah, anyway, thanks for joining me. If there's anything you want me to either talk about next time or you want to see me draw, leave a comment below. Be sure to check out my sites, which I also have listed. My not Tumblr, my Twitter, my DeviantArt. And thanks for joining me. Till next time, everyone. Take care.